Hari Om Tat Sat, yogis. Welcome to your Easy Like Sunday morning yin practice. We're doing a full moon practice today, so the moon is full. Maybe when you're doing this, it's not full, but at this point it is. And so with the full moon comes a sense of completion. So today we're doing a gratitude practice. So being grateful for some things that you have possibly completed and that you can let go of. Projects, people, situations, jobs. What are we leaving in level 5? And what we're grateful for moving forward. So take a nice deep breath in, come and sit up tall in whatever comfortable seated position you want to be in. Take a good deep breath in and exhale side out. Allow the eyes to gently close if you haven't yet, and just bring your awareness to your breath. Not necessarily changing anything just yet. Just arriving, just noticing the inhale, noticing the exhale. Bringing your awareness to the palms of your hands and just determining whether you'd like to turn the palms down or whether you'd like to turn the palms up. The palms open can either have a sense of receptivity, that you are open to receive, or that you're open to give. So essentially focusing on the sense of being open. If you want to keep your hands closed, then comes with that the idea of retaining your energy, keeping your energy internalized, not being in a position where you have capacity to be open. Just determining where you are today. Are you feeling like you need to perhaps be a little more protective of your capacities and your energies? Or are you feeling like you've got lots of energy, lots to give? Neither one is right or wrong. It's not about being good or bad. What is appropriate for you today? What do you need today? So oftentimes when we approach a gratitude practice, it's our sense of gratitude that unblocks and that allows a flow. So if you're coming from what it is that you need for today, so as you inhale, just allowing a personal sankalpa for you to arise, intention. Your intention being stated in a positive present tense. Move easily with the flow of life. What do you need today? What is that sankalpa for you? And then releasing that intention, as you've stated it 3 times, maybe more internally to yourself, maybe out loud if you can. Releasing the attachment to that sankalpa, just letting it go, letting it float out into the universe. And then beginning your gratitude. So as you inhale, allowing something to surface that you feel grateful for. And as you exhale, just making space. Allow yourself a moment or 2 to explore the emotional space around gratitude. Allowing yourself a moment or 2 to envision, to imagine, to sense, to feel whatever it is that has surfaced for you. It's a person, a dynamic, a situation, wine, cigarettes, whatever it evokes in you. Allow yourself to really explore that sense of gratitude. What does it feel like in the chest? What does it feel like in the heart space? Gratitude. And then with your next breath, allowing the chin to just drop down towards the chest. An energetic surrender here, softening the shoulders, softening the head down, just letting the chin hang to the chest. And with your next breath, sliding the chin across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. Letting the head stay heavy. And then with your next breath, letting your right ear drift towards the right shoulder. Lifting the chin slightly away from the chest and coming into a side bend sort of space. Dropping that right ear down to the right shoulder and then extending your left arm out to the side at about shoulder height or just below. Just reaching into those fingertips. Maybe taking a little rotation into the wrist. And really letting the fingers explore the space. Like you're a flamenco dancer, letting the fingers wiggle and jiggle a little bit, letting that movement come from the wrist though. And then releasing that hand back down. Drop the chin in towards the chest again. Or if there's a space that feels particularly good for you, maybe just hanging out there for a moment. Dropping the chin back to the chest, sliding the chin towards the left hand side, dropping the left ear down towards the shoulder. So lifting the chest, the chin at least slightly away from the chest again, coming back into that side bend space. So dropping ear to shoulder. Extending the right arm out to the side, shoulder height or just below. Castanetting those fingers, flamenco dancing those fingers, rolling out into the wrist a little bit. If you've allowed yourself to slump at all, then just sitting up tall again. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. And last breath, release that right hand back to the knee. Inhale, head back to center. Take a moment, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper into the side body. You can gently begin to blink the eyes open if you haven't yet. Coming to the right hand side, extending your right hand out alongside you. Maybe walking those fingertips in the palm a little further away. Make sure you stay in side bend territory, so pull the bottom shoulder forward, take the top shoulder back. Inhale, the left arm up and over. Soften that left shoulder, micro bend the left elbow. So keep the arm quite soft. We're in yin, you don't need to activate in too much into the muscles. We want to stay in the connective tissues and the fascia. Maybe you can begin to walk those right fingertips a little further away and come onto the forearm. This isn't necessarily everybody's range of motion. So if you need to stay a little bit higher up, that's absolutely fine. Inhale. As you exhale, try to extend that left arm a little further over the head. So straightening the elbow for a moment again. Take a little roll into the wrist and then relax the wrist and let the bend come back into the elbow. And then pull the bottom shoulder forward, top shoulder back. Make sure you're grounded down into both hips. Look up towards the ceiling, into the room, down to the ground. And last breath. Drop your top hand onto your right knee and then slide your right hand behind you for a little twist. You can be doing this in Vajrasana if you're sitting on your knees or on your haunches. You can still be doing exactly what we're doing. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend into both elbows very slightly. And exhale, maybe keeping the gaze just towards your right. If you're happy in the cervical spine, in your neck, then maybe continuing the gaze over the shoulder. Inhale. Allow the belly to full. Exhale. Check in with the neck here. Just sort of dropping the ears from shoulder to shoulder, maybe taking a little rotation into the neck even. And last breath, sliding the chin across the chest, come back to center. And come back to the middle, as India Ari says. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Keeping it super simple today. As you fold forward again, allow another thing to surface that you are grateful for. Think of something else that you are grateful for. This is our first longish forward fold. So don't worry about how low you've gotten, even if you're still quite far up and you're just resting your fingertips on the ground and the chin is softened into the chest. That is totally fine. Allow the hips to soften, allow the lower back to lengthen, allow the head to be heavy, and come back into that heart space of gratitude, that thing that you are grateful for. Thing, person, dynamic situation, job. If If you're really grateful to have your job still, that's a good one. It's cheesy because it's true, yo. And last breath. Begin to walk the hands back. Very, very gently taking your left hand out to the side, so we're on the other side. Oh. Maybe you come down onto the hand, take that right arm up and over, micro bend in both elbows, soften the shoulders. Oh, and then maybe you come down onto the forearm, maybe not. Ground down into your left hip. If your left bum is pulling away from the ground, you've gone too far, then come up a little bit and push into that left hand to help you ground down into the right hip. Pull the bottom shoulder forward, top shoulder back. And then reach a little further over with that top arm, straighten the elbow for a moment, and then bend it again. Relax into the wrist, maybe a little flamenco action there again. Look up to the ceiling, into the room, down to the ground. And last breath. Drop your right hand onto your left knee. Gently slide up and then travel that left hand into the lower back. Try to make sure that that shoulder stays away from the ears. Inhale, lengthen, or the ear, and exhale. Look to the side. If it's comfortable, you can take the gaze over the shoulder. Make sure both elbows are slightly bent. Check in with your neck here. You can explore a little bit in this neck space, the cervical spine space. Which direction should you be looking in? Not backwards, not to the past. Inhale, exhale, but backwards over the shoulder obs. And last breath, gently sliding the chin across the chest, come back to center. If you are cross-legged in Sukhasana, which you probably are, then swap legs to fold forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Sigh, moan, groan. Maybe this time your forehead can come down to the ground, maybe not. Remember, wherever you are with this is absolutely fine, even if you're a little bit further up. And then a new thing to be grateful for. A new thing to be grateful for. I'm incredibly grateful that my husband takes an equal share in keeping our house clean and cooking. To be fair, he takes an equal share in keeping our house clean, but he does 70% of the cooking. So, two things that I'm grateful for there. And last breath. Walk it back. From here, open your legs out wide. Not too wide. We're not in a yang scenario, so you don't have to get your legs as wide as you can get them. Just take them to a place that feels relatively comfortable, but remaining on your sit bones, so staying on your bones. If you find that when you sit like this, your back rounds quite a lot, then sit on the edge of a blanket. Remember to come to yin with props. Always come to yin with props. So if you need to sit on the edge of a blanket, like literally right on the edge of the blanket, that really helps to elevate the spine. And we're folding forward. Inhale, relax the ankles, relax the knees. You can let your feet flop in or out, wherever the hip is rolling to, totally fine. Inhale, lengthen. exhale, fold forward. Again, coming to wherever you can manage. If you are still on your fingertips and pretty much the most that you can manage is just soften the head into the chin, into the chest, that's absolutely fine. It's yin, so we're looking for some challenge, we're looking for some intensity, but we don't want to be wanting to stab Stella in the eye for 3 minutes. You want to find the place that is about 70% near to your edge, and then slowly deepening your pose with the breath. And then what else is there? What else is there to be grateful for in your life today? Stay with the breath. Maybe you can go a little further. Maybe things have begun to soften a bit. Almost there. Last couple of breaths. Inhale. Exhale, side out through the mouth. Super, super gently beginning to walk yourself back. Even if you've been sitting quite high up, come out super slow. Take your hands out behind you. Leave your legs where they are. And lean back. You can do what I call it's part of what I call beach pose. So you don't have to stay up elevated here. You can either lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together, drop the head back, or you can collapse into this and roll onto your sacrum. Give your bum a little squeeze and just sort of drop right down between your shoulders. Make it super cash. So taking a breath, maybe you do both. Taking a breath in either one before coming back up, and then we're going to the side. So coming back to pretty much where you were. Inhale as you exhale, face the right hand leg. Inhale as you exhale, lean over the right hand leg. So try to get yourself a little deeper into the twist by pressing into your left hand and drawing your right shoulder further back and bringing your inside shoulder, your left shoulder, dropping that further down to the ground. Make sure you're grounded down in both hips, so if your left hip starts to pull away, you've gone too far. And then again, just folding over that leg. So if this is where you are, and you're just letting the back round, soften the chin to the chest, totally fine. If you can go a little bit further, you find the place, the 70%, and you settle in. Relax the ankles, relax the toes. Just staying with what you can feel, where you can feel it. Checking in with your gratitude list. Noticing if it feels more challenging to find something to be grateful for when you're in a pose that feels difficult. And then that's life. Oftentimes when we feel the most hemmed in, the most anxious, the most frustrated, the most afraid, it feels really difficult to find something to be grateful for. But the second we find something to be grateful for is when something shifts and something opens up. when we've been feeling closed off, and then there's some hope, and then there's often some practical solutions that just suddenly appear. What are you grateful for? Last couple of breaths. Inhale, exhale, and last breath. Inhale, exhale, side out through the mouth. Super, super gently coming up. Oh. So for some of us, this is really, really intense. Take a moment in the middle. Drop the chin to the chest. Take the hands out to the side, clasp your fingers, and without pushing, just taking your clasped hands into the nape of the neck. And then allowing the elbows to draw a little bit closer in towards the head, so not pushing, but just allowing the weight of the hands to lengthen into the back of the neck. Your legs are exactly the same. A little more stretch. Maybe you slide the hands from the base of the neck up onto the back of your head. See if you can soften the chin a little more to the chest. And let the hands just separate. Let the fingers slide down the back of your skull. Bring your hands back to your legs. Inhale. Look over to the right. And look over to the left. And then stay on the left. Bring the hands over to the left hand side. Inhale, lengthen, take that little twist as much as you can to try and get the torso over the extended leg. And then settling in, trying to square the shoulders off as much as you can, so pressing into the right hand, drawing the right shoulder down and forward, and taking the left shoulder back and down. And then making your way in. Check in with that right hip. If it's pulling away from the ground, then come back a little bit. Maybe you want to flex into the feet for a moment and then relax them again. Noticing how one side is often more accessible than the other. And breathe. Maybe you can go a little bit deeper. Maybe you need to pull out a little bit, come back a little bit. Last couple of breaths. Inhale and exhale. Last breath. Inhale, exhale, side out through the mouth. Coming out super, super slow. Ooh. Goodness. Bring your hands underneath your knees. help lift them. And bring the feet together. Hug the knees into the chest. And give yourself a squeeze. Maybe even rocking from side to side. It's a very comforting, very nurturing position. And last breath. Release. Take your feet out to the side. I was just thinking about what we're doing there. Did you see? And then come up to all fours. And then moving through a little bit of cat and cow. Super good, so delicious. Yum, yum, yum. Just moving super slow through cat and cow. And last breath. Tuck the toes, take your hands a little bit wider, pushing up to downward facing dog. Or what I call the great equalizer. Take a good deep breath in. As you exhale, draw the belly button to the spine strongly. We're just doing that to help align the spine. And then let it go. Let the belly drop down to the ground, maybe even shifting the weight from side to side for a moment. Soften the chin in towards the chest. You don't have to lift the kneecaps. You don't have to be strong in this pose at all. And last breath. Look towards your hands and begin to walk your feet towards your hands. Super slow. And then when you get to more or less where your hands are, start to widen your feet and come to sit in a squat. Now remember, if squat is really hideous for you, you can do the squat on the edge of your couch, on your bed, on a chair. You don't have to come all the way down to the ground to your squat. You can just perch like this. You can sit on the edge of anything or sit on something like a prop like this. And if it's really hideous to get your feet to touch the ground in your squat, you can also roll up a blanket or a towel, anything really, and put it underneath your heels to give you a little bit more support there. And then generally the problem with a squat, often if you can't get into it, is sometimes our feet are too close together. So you actually need to take your feet quite wide for your squat. This is yin, it's a passive squat. So I like to just fold my arms. Obviously squat is really comfortable for me. If it's not really comfortable for you, breathe and try to find the softness in your squat. You can rock a little bit from side to side if you like. Just finding some movement. Or stay very still. And soften the pelvic floor, relax the pelvic floor. So the description to engage the pelvic floor is usually feels like you're holding in a wee. So without actually letting go of your wee, it's the feeling of softening and releasing. And last breath, inhale. As you exhale, put your hands flat onto the floor, and if this requires some effort, breathe through it. Lift your bum away from your heels. Heel toe feet slightly closer together, not very much necessarily. Take hold of opposite elbows and find yourself in a little rag doll. Nod your head yes, shake the head no. You are looking right between your legs. So your neck, the crown of your head is going right down to the ground. You're not looking at your feet, you're not looking at the ground. It's important that you look directly between your legs so the back of the neck is nice and long and relaxed, more to the point. With your next breath, take your arms out to the side, palms facing up, and then bring your hands onto your lower back.
You can take hold of a wrist, it doesn't matter which one you take hold of. You can kind of monkey grip a wrist or just wrap your thumb and index finger around your wrist and just resting those hands on the lower back. So your whole rib cage is resting on your thighs and your knees are micro bends. Inhale, exhale. As usual, if at any time you are uncomfortable, not uncomfortable, like in yin we're trying to be uncomfortable, but if you're in pain, short, sharp, stabbing pain or any kind of pain, then you come out of the pose. And last breath. Just release those hands, take them out to the side again, palms facing up, palms facing down. Release the hands down to the ground, widen your feet again, coming back into your squats. Try to walk those shoulders in front of the knees. Relax your hands down to the ground, and then you're just gonna sit down on your bum. You may fall over, that may be the least graceful thing you've done all day. No problem. And then come to roll down onto your back. If you are done and you are tired and you don't want to use your core to come down, then just elbows, elbows. Lift your bum, come onto the sacrum, the lower back. You can even give it a little massage. I particularly enjoy that. And then roll all the way down onto your back. Take the feet as wide as the mat, if not a little bit wider. And come to some windshield wipers. Take the arms out at shoulder height. Windshield wiper, the best. Super gentle way to warm into the hips or cool down. Warming or cooling. So if you've done a rigorous vinyasa class, then a windshield wiper is a lovely cool down. And it's a lovely warm up. Lovely versatile little transition. If you have any lower back pain ever, windshield wipers bomb. Or the bomb. I sound like an old lady trying to be cool. And last one, bringing it back to center. Bring the knees up into the chest, give them a little squeeze, and then open up to your happy baby. This is our last longish hold. Soften the chin to the chest. I don't mind if you take your elbows out on this happy baby. Usually your elbows are tucked inside to the calves, but in a yin I like the elbows to be a little bit wider. Come back to some full yogic breath, all the way down to the lower belly, middle lungs, upper lungs. So you can feel the constriction of the lungs with your thighs alongside your ribs. Good way to make sure you're breathing nice and deep. If you can't feel your thighs on your ribs, breathe deeper. And last breath. Placing one foot down very gently at a time. Come to constructive rest. Drop the knees in towards each other. Rest your hands on your belly. And as we take this last very restful pose, before we come to Shavasana, just reviewing, just remembering each thing that you have reminded yourself of your gratitude. And again, allowing that heart space to fill, feeling your heart expanding with love and compassion, gratitude. And then with your next breath, drawing the knees apart and extending the legs out for Shavasana. Maybe you want to reach for your blanket or your eye pillow, the things that you need. Maybe you want a pillow underneath your head. I encourage luxury during Shavasana in yin and restorative. Taking the time to get your blankie, your eye pillow, whatever you need. Maybe it's just another warm thing. Make sure the tailbone is tucked. Bring the hands alongside the body, palms facing up. Take a long, slow inhale and an even longer, slower exhale. Wriggle and jiggle. Get as comfortable as you can so that you can lie completely still for this most important part of the practice, Shavasana, your rest. Come back to the breath. And we're going to take 2 or 3 rounds of extending the exhale. So if your inhale is 5 counts, then extend the exhale to 7 counts. If your inhale is 4 counts, the exhale is 6 counts. Doing that in your own time. Inhale and extend the exhale. Letting go of the controlled breath if you haven't yet. And taking these last couple of moments to just rest. Bring your awareness back to your breath, back to your body. Take a long, slow inhale. And an even longer, slower exhale. Take a long, slow inhale. And sigh it out. With your next breath, beginning to invite movement back into the body through the fingers and the toes. Taking a little wiggle. Take a rotation into the ankles and the wrists. Inhale the arms above the head and take a good full body stretch. Point the toes, flex the feet, squeeze the bum, scrunch up the face. And bring the knees up into the chest, give them a squeeze. And then rolling over onto whichever side feels good for you, left or right. Coming into the fetal position for just a moment. Keeping the eyes closed if you can. Take a breath here. Pondering this beautiful symbolism between Shavasana, corpse pose, dying, and rolling into the fetal position and being reborn. Using your top hand to gently press yourself up, coming to sit up tall, bringing the head up last, trying not to disturb yourself too much. Coming into your fresh opportunity, coming into your new grace, coming into your clean slate. I have another chance, I can do it again. Tomorrow is another day, and I give myself permission to try again. Take a last deep breath in. Exhale, side out. Touching the forehead with the thumbs.
Just remembering all those things that you've been grateful for today. That gratitude practice. Hariom Tat Sat Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, if you enjoyed the class, please like it, please share it, please subscribe, please tell your friends, share the love. Peace out, Joe.